Chapter 495, Cause of Death. Chapter 495, Cause of Death. The Dragon King arrow had only pierced the phantom Su Ming created, so it did not hurt him. The combination of swordsmanship and illusion formed the illusory sword principle that Su Ming comprehended. Blind Emperor saw through it, so he knew where the real Su Ming was hiding. Su Ming turned pale. He barely deflected the attack and immediately drew back. After regaining his balance, Su Ming looked at Blind Emperor with a flicker of coldness in his eyes. "Blind man, it's been a long time since we last met. Your strength has improved greatly. I knew that you had been studying Heart Sword Principle. It seems that you have finally achieved something. I'm blind, but my heart is not. Your illusion is useless against me. As long as I'm here, you won't be able to hurt this boy," Blind Emperor said indifferently. Su Ming's face fell. His illusory sword principle did not work against those who possessed a strong mind. The heart sword principle focused on one's heart and could counteract the effect from the illusory sword principle. Therefore, Su Ming could not find an opportunity to kill the boy. "Blind man, you really think you can stop me?" Su Ming coldly looked at Blind Emperor. "Nonsense," Blind Emperor said in a low tone. "Well." Su Ming wore cold expressions as his eyes blazed with fury, but he remained silent for a while. As his lips tilted upwards slightly at the corners, he gave a wicked smile and said, "Blind man, you think that because you're here I can't kill this boy?" Blind Emperor had an indifferent expression. "Ha, ha ha ha." Su Ming broke into demented laughter. After a while, he calmed down and looked at his opponents with a cold expression. "I didn't want to, but you've forced me to do it." Hearing this, Jian Wushuang had a bad feeling. "Su Ming, what are you going to do?" Blind Emperor spoke in a cold voice. "What shall I do?" "Ha!" Su Ming said with a big laugh, "Old man, thousands of years ago, Sword Ancestor died and his bloodline collapsed. You, one of the 7 Sword Emperors, narrowly escaped, but you still don't know the cause of that fight, right?" Blind Emperor was shocked. He began shivering. Thousands of years ago, the fight started suddenly and ended quickly. The bloodline of the Sword Ancestor was so powerful that no one dared to piss them off. Even the other 3 ancestors held them in awe. However, a fight erupted, causing Sword Ancestor to die and his bloodline to collapse within a day. Other than Blind Emperor, the other 6 Sword Emperors had all been killed. It had been an absolute nightmare for Blind Emperor. Thousands of years had passed, but Blind Emperor still knew nothing about the cause of the fight. He was not clear on why it started and why Sword Ancestor died. He had not found the answer even now. "Su Ming, what do you mean?" Blind Emperor said in a tremulous tone. Su Ming said with a grim smile, casting his gaze on Jian Wushuang. "Jian Wushuang, if I guessed right, you're a descendant from the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor, right? When you came to Sword Suppression Valley, I knew because you had the Triple Kill Sword. The Triple Kill Sword is a token of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. It was modeled after the Heart-Killing Sword. The bloodline of the Sword Ancestor refined 5 Triple Kill Swords and gave them to 5 personal disciples. I'm one of the 5, so I also have one." Then Su Ming turned his hand over and a long sword appeared. This sword was the same as Jian Wushuang's Triple Kill Sword and Blind Emperor's long sword. "You not only have the Triple Kill Sword, but you have also mastered many sword skills from the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor, such as Mind's Eye Sword Technique and Multifold Realm, which was famous because of the bloodline of the Sword Ancestor. In addition, you know how to perform the Heart-Killing Sword Technique." Su Ming sneered. As Sword Ancestor's personal disciple, Su Ming remembered all 9 moves of the Heart-Killing Sword Technique, so he knew it well. He recognized it when Jian Wushuang performed Heart-Killing Sword Technique. "I'm the descendant of bloodline of the Sword Ancestor." "So what?" Jian Wushuang said in a cold voice. Since Su Ming knew it, Jian Wushuang admitted his identity openly. Su Ming sneered. It doesn't matter that you're the descendant of bloodline of the sword ancestor, but you've mastered the heart-killing sword technique. That's different. Both of us have grasped the heart-killing sword technique, so you must know how marvelous the sword skill is. We can keep this skill in mind and freely perform it, but we can't teach it to others. Sword ancestors' personal disciples, who mastered the heart-killing sword technique, can't teach it to anyone. You mastered this skill after the bloodline of the sword ancestor collapsed. There's only one possibility. You found the location of the cave mansion sword ancestor left and you've been there. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang's expression changed slightly and his grim sense of foreboding continued to increase. Su Ming continued, Hey, blind man, don't you want to know how the old guy died? I'll tell you now. He died because he had something related to a big secret. This secret is so big that all the other experts who were as strong as him would pay any price to acquire it. Sometimes, just possessing a treasure is enough to cause trouble for its owner. Because of that thing, he died. However, the old guy was clever and hid it in his cave mansion. As we all know, the mansion's location remains a mystery. The experts who killed the old guy searched the whole divine land, but they could not find the cave mansion. But now, if they receive the news that Jian Wushuang knows its location and has practiced the heart-killing sword technique in there, say, what would they do? On hearing this, Jian Wushuang's and Blind Emperor's faces fell. Chapter 496, Crazy Messaging. Chapter 496, Crazy Messaging. Ha, Sword Ancestor's Cave Mansion. Su Ming crazily laughed without scruple. Jian Wushuang was frightened. In the ancestor's land, he asked Jin Ling about the third test, but Jin Ling just said that she only knew it was related to a big secret. Now he realized that the big secret was the cause of Sword Ancestor's death. What does he want to do? Jian Nantian appeared beside his son. Jian Nantian remained deadlocked with Marquis Xiefeng, but when he noticed something happening here, Jian Nantian came over. I don't know, but it can't be anything good, Blind Emperor replied coldly. Su Ming stopped laughing. His expression became ferocious with a gush of craziness in his eyes. Jian Wushuang, Blind Emperor, and Jian Nantian. Su Ming looked at them. Have you experienced desperation? Jian Wushuang's complexion changed slightly. Jian Nantian was shocked. Desperation? Hey, it's all right if you haven't because you will be experiencing it soon. Like Sword Ancestor, you will know what real desperation is. I will give you a taste of being targeted by the whole world, Su Ming said with a grim smile as he flipped his hand over. A dozen messaging slips appeared in his hands. After he tore one of them, a blurry image appeared. Haha, Holy Ancestor, you have been looking for the location of the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion, right? I found it. The blurry figure showed a surprised expression and spoke in a sonorous voice. I'll come immediately. The blurry figure disappeared. Then Su Ming tore the second messaging slip. Spirit Ancestor, I have some information about the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion. Whether you come is up to you. The message was sent. Then he turned to the third messaging slip. Stone Ancestor, I received news on the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion. Blood Blades Man, I know the whereabouts of that thing you want. Bagu Cave Master, you're still in closed door cultivation. If you don't exit, the thing you want will fall into someone else's hands. Dongming King. Su Ming tore the messaging slips and sent all the messages. The first 3 messages were to the 3 ancestors in the Divine Land. As for the other messages, such as Blood Blades Man, Bagu Cave Master, and Dongming King, many sword principal experts present, including Blind Emperor, had not heard of them. We're in big trouble. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian both looked at each other with a horrible expression. They knew that they would become the experts' targets if Sword Ancestor's death was really related to that thing. Not good, Jian Nantian, leave with your son right now. I'll block Su Ming. Blind Emperor spoke seriously. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. Let's go. Jian Wushuang retreated with his father without hesitation. You want to leave? Su Ming sneered as he moved to give chase. Shua. The space before Su Ming suddenly split. A cold sword shadow appeared and pointed at his throat, blocking his way. You think that if you block me they can escape? Zizhong. Su Ming shouted. Marquis Zizhong, who had retreated far off in the distance, nodded and started to chase Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian. Marquis Yifeng followed them. Damn it! Jian Wushuang turned pale. The two marquises were weaker than him. Though they were unable to catch up with their targets, Marquis Zizhong was smart as he did not plan to fight with them, only to keep following his targets. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian could not shake them off. We're in trouble. Jian Nantian, who had been indifferent to everything, wore a solemn look. Now they were at an extreme disadvantage. The experts who received the messages responded one by one. In an ancient forest, there were numerous palaces and pavilions. On top of a mountain, a beautiful pavilion with 9 floors stood. A white-robed elder sat on a chair on the top floor, flicking through a book. He looked mild, yet he also looked as if he had experienced many of the vicissitudes of life. After receiving Su Ming's message, the white-robed elder stood up with a grim expression. Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion has finally been found? The white-robed elder suppressed his excitement as he tore a space travel spell and stepped into the wormhole. On a small island, which was situated in the center of lake, there was a simple thatched cottage. A graceful purple-clothed woman sat by a stone table while playing Go by herself in the delicate thatched cottage. Suddenly, Su Ming's message arrived. Spirit Ancestor, I have some information about the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion. Whether you come or not is up to you. The purple-clothed woman stopped her hand. The next moment, she stood up and looked up towards the sky. Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion, that old guy's cave mansion. The purple-clothed woman wore a complicated look. In an ordinary city, an old beggar lay in the corner of the street, as if he would die of starvation and coldness at any moment. He looked inconspicuous. Suddenly, Su Ming's message arrived. Blood Blades Man, I know the whereabouts of that thing you want. The old beggar suddenly woke up. His eyes looked as sharp as a blade, radiating a sliver of light. Sword Ancestor's Cave Mansion. For that thing, I, Blood Blades Man, have lived here for thousands of years. Finally, I'll learn of its whereabouts. Chapter 497, Enemy of the Whole World. Chapter 497, Enemy of the Whole World. The vast divine land was not as quiet as it looked. The messages Su Ming sent attracted the attention of all the old monsters in the divine land. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian stopped on a mountain outside Sword Suppression Valley. Since they knew they could not shake off Marquis Zizhong and Marquis Yifeng, the father and son gave up running. After a while, a towering figure arrived. He was a benevolent-looking white-robed elder, who looked as if he had bathed in sunshine and was covered by a saintly halo. A stream of affable aura radiated from him. It gave the surrounding experts a feeling as if their faces were being caressed by their mothers. The aura was so overwhelming that all the sword principal experts lost the courage to resist. This man. Though Blind Emperor was blind, he still recognized the elder using his mind. Holy Ancestor. Blind Emperor ground out. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian were shocked. Holy Ancestor, you're quite fast. A cold voice rang out. A purple-clothed woman appeared in the nearby area. Buzz. The surrounding void suddenly shivered, causing bizarre waves to spread out. It let out a faint hum, which sounded like an ethereal tune, and reverberated through the whole area. Then, more experts began to show up, one by one, all with auras powerful enough to terrify a marquis. In the blink of an eye, a dozen people had gathered in the area. Some looked cold, some were excited, and some looked evil. Each of them was far superior to any marquis and even some sovereigns. Looking at those powerful experts, all the other sword principal experts were petrified. This is Holy Ancestor, Spirit Ancestor, and Stone Ancestor, the three ancestors of our divine land have gathered. Gosh! The entire crowd was shocked. The three ancestors had been a legend in the divine land. Normally, it was rare to meet a marquis, but now, the three ancestors gathered. What did this mean? Those people. Who are they? They dare to stand beside the three ancestors. The three ancestors were the strongest in our divine land, right? But those other people, where are they from? I feel that they are not weaker than the three ancestors. What happened? All the spectators were confused. The three ancestors were known as the supreme experts of the divine land. Each of them had reached the cloud realm. Every ancestor possessed extremely mighty strength. The 9 sovereigns were second to them. The 9 sovereigns had only reached the Tao. Although they were also at the cloud realm, they could not hold a candle to the 3 ancestors. However, now, 8 experts stood alongside the 3 ancestors. There were 8 experts as strong as the 3 ancestors in the divine land. We haven't seen you for many years. How are you? Blood Blades man, you still like being a beggar. Are you addicted to it? What's wrong with a beggar? I can take the earth as my bed and the sky as my quilt. I can drink whenever I want. I am very carefree. Dongming King, you're still in this land? The dozen supreme experts began exchanging greetings while standing in the air. After a while, Su Ming came over. Su Ming pay his respects to the masters. Su Ming, who always held a condescending attitude, behaved modestly because these experts were stronger than him. Su Ming, you said you have news on the whereabouts of the Sword Ancestor Cave Mansion. I hope for your sake that you weren't joking, or, Holy Ancestor said slowly. Every word contained a mighty deterrence. Su Ming was a bit nervous but immediately smiled. Masters, don't worry. Since I sent the messages, I do have something to tell you. Su Ming began explaining. Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, and Blind Emperor gathered on the back of the mountain. They all had terrible expressions. They are super experts in the cloud realm. Jian Wushuang stared at those experts. Each of them had an overwhelming aura which could terrify him. Though Su Ming was good at illusory sword principle, his aura was not powerful. However, now, the aura of these experts had made the young boy lose the courage to fight. I can't figure out why our master died and who was able to kill him, Blind Emperor murmured. After all, our master was the supreme expert in the whole divine land. Even if the 3 ancestors allied, they could not fight against him or kill him. But now, I understand. The ones who fought our master were not the 3 ancestors, but a group of super cloud realm experts. Maybe more than that. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian wore a serious look. Now they were being targeted by the whole world. They could not help but think of that. Su Ming said he would let them experience the desperation Sword Ancestor felt. Now they understood what he meant. If I guess right, those experts should have come from the outside world, Blind Emperor said seriously. On hearing this, Jian Wushuang's face fell. There was always someone stronger than you. Jian Wushuang knew there were bigger worlds outside of the divine land. After all, he had met Leng Rushuang several times. Though she rarely showed her power, Jian Wushuang could guess some things from what Di Jing had said. Di Jing said that he was the 7th war god under the command of Emperor Shao from Tang of the East. It had proven that Leng Rushuang and Di Jing came from the outside world. Chapter 498, Being a Joke. Chapter 498, Being a Joke. Floating above the area, stood a dozen towering figures with vigorous auras. Your honors, the heart-killing sword technique can't be learned from others, so I'm sure Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian know the location of Sword Ancestor's mansion and gained the technique inside, Su Ming explained. The dozen figures immediately looked toward Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian. Boom! Terrifying power came rushing towards the father and the son. Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, and Blind Emperor were struck with horror under the power. Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, I've heard of you from one of my disciples, a bald elder spoke slowly. His body seemed as cold as a stone. He was none other than Stone Ancestor, one of the three ancestors. You may still remember that disciple, Jiu Xiu, Stone Ancestor continued. Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian looked grave when they heard the name. They did remember Jiu Xiu. After all, he was a person they would never forget. Jiu Xiu thought highly of you too, especially you, Jian Wushuang. He said that you were barely 30. At such a young age, you must have gained some great opportunities to raise your power to such a high level in such a short time, Stone Ancestor said with a smile. As for the opportunities, I'm sure you must have gained them in Sword Ancestor's cave mansion. Stone Ancestor's words made sense. No matter how talented Jian Wushuang was, he could not have become as powerful as he was now without proper opportunities. What Stone Ancestor did not know was that the greatest opportunity Jian Wushuang acquired was the heavenly creation skill. Sword Ancestor's cave mansion was second. So, tell me, where is Sword Ancestor's mansion? Holy Ancestor, a white-robed elder, asked gently, however, his eyes were chilling. Tell me or go to hell. The other elders gazed at Jian Wushuang and Jian Nantian with eager eyes. They were desperate to get Sword Ancestor's treasure, regardless of the cost. Experts like Blood Blades Man, Bagu Cave Master, and Dongming King were all from other places, but they had stayed in the Divine Land for 1,000 years just for the treasure, and the treasure now lay in Sword Ancestor's cave mansion. Jian Wushuang, Jian Nantian, and Blind Emperor could feel the elders' eagerness. Jian Nantian. Blind Emperor turned his unfocused eyes to Jian Nantian and said, we can't tell them the location of Master's mansion, even if we have to die here. I understand, Jian Nantian nodded seriously. Father, Emperor, I have one trump card, which may help us survive this time, Jian Wushuang chimed in. Oh. Jian Nantian turned to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang looked grave. His trump card was the jade slip Leng Rushuang had given him. Leng Rushuang had told him that she would come to help him once he crumbled the jade slip. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was in a situation where he could not get out of trouble on his own, and Leng Rushuang was his only hope. Without hesitating, Jian Wushuang took out the slip and held it tightly. Leng Rushuang, if you can save us this time, I'll repay you even if the price is 10 times greater. Jian Wushuang shouted in a low voice and crumbled the slip. Immediately, the surrounding space rippled. Jian Wushuang stared at it with expectation. The elders saw Jian Wushuang's action, but they did not take it seriously. They were super experts in this world and had managed to kill Sword Ancestor 1,000 years ago, so they did not care about a little boy's trump card. What? Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly darkened. How can it be like this? Jian Wushuang was surprised that nothing happened. He had crushed the slip and there had been a ripple, but after that, nothing happened. Leng Rushuang did not come. What's going on? Jian Nantian looked toward Jian Wushuang. I don't know. Jian Wushuang frowned as worry burned inside him. After he crushed the jade slip, there was only a small response and no one appeared. At this moment, his actions looked like a joke. Ha, what an idiot. Su Ming laughed. The experts all sneered at Jian Wushuang. What is he doing? Was he asking someone for help when he crushed that slip? But, nobody came. Is he trying to deceive himself? Maybe it's true that he was seeking help, but the owner of the slip didn't reply. The owner must be afraid to face the three ancestors and the elders. It's not his fault. He is only a young boy. Who could he ask to help him? Moreover, who could even help him? Many eyes of pity were fixed on Jian Wushuang. Humph. Suddenly, a snorting sound echoed and caused everyone to quiet down. The sound was from a barefoot middle-aged man, one of the super experts. The man's aura was overbearing, which implied that he was a bad-tempered man. The man was called Bagu Cave Master. Boy, it seems that the person you are asking for help from is a coward. Stop struggling, boy. Tell me where the Sword Ancestor's cave mansion is and I'll ensure your safety. But, if you dare to tell it to the others, I'll kill you, your family, and everyone who is related to you. Bagu Cave Master's chilling and threatening voice resounded through the area. His words obviously annoyed the other experts on the scene who all frowned. Bagu Cave Master, you're in the divine land. As a stranger here, you are being too arrogant, holy ancestors said in a deep voice. Arrogant? Yes, I am, so what? Bagu Cave Master sneered. Bagu Cave Master, don't be so, holy ancestor shouted coldly and looked toward him, but he stopped speaking halfway, staring in a dumbfounded manner. Not only him, but also Spirit Ancestor, Stone Ancestor, Blood Blades Man, and all the others who looked at Bagu Cave Master were dumbfounded. What? What are you trying to say? Bagu Cave Master was still displaying his domineering manner. Bagu Cave Master, look behind you. Chapter 499, A Bell. Chapter 499, A Bell. Bagu Cave Master, behind you, Holy Ancestor's voice betrayed his horror. Behind me? Bagu Cave Master was confused. Yet, at the same time, he sensed someone breathing lightly behind him. The person was directly behind him, and he could tell they were within a half-meter from him. When did this person arrive? Bagu Cave Master's heart began to beat erratically. He was a supreme expert above the Cloud Realm. In terms of battle strength, he was confident that he could rank in the top 2 among the experts currently here and was just a little weaker than Sword Ancestor. Therefore, he could not believe that someone had approached him from behind and come so close without being noticed. How is this possible? Bagu Cave Master was terrified. As were the 3 ancestors, Blood Blades Man, and Dongming King. They all watched the person standing behind Bagu Cave Master intensely. The newcomer was a skinny elder, who had chilling and weird eyes. The elder wore a meaningful smile and a ghostly light flashed in his eyes. Senior Di Jing. Jian Wushuang was surprised to see the elder. He had met the elder in the Puppet Master's cave mansion earlier. Di Jing, the 7th war god under the command of Emperor Shao from Tang of the East. He had been recognized as a great demon in the divine land 1,000 years ago. Old guy, you are so weak yet so arrogant. Di Jing spoke slowly and his voice was frigid. The next moment, his hand moved towards Bagu Cave Master's shoulder. The hand moved slowly, but there was a strange power behind it. Bagu Cave Master's face turned red as cold sweat began rolling down his face. He tried hard to dodge Di Jing's hand, but quickly discovered that he was frozen in place by an unknown force. Finally, the hand landed on Bagu Cave Master's shoulder. It seemed like a casual pat, but Bagu Cave Master felt as if his soul had been shaken out of his body. He was in a daze and unable to struggle. It took him a while to regain his consciousness, but he was immediately scared, to the point of feeling a chill, and could not help gasping. It was so terrifying. The pat did not actually hurt him, but it showed him Di Jing's formidable power. He instantly understood that Di Jing could kill him as easily as crushing an ant. Say senior. Bagu Cave Master finally spoke, and the way he addressed the elder amazed all the surrounding experts. Senior. Di Jing smiled ironically. Just now, you were so arrogant and said that the boy asked a coward for help, didn't you? Sorry. Bagu Cave Master shook his head. Don't be scared. After all, it was not me who he asked for help, Di Jing put on a smile. Bagoo Cave Master was relieved, but quickly, he heard Di Jing add, "In fact, he asked my young master for help." Bagoo Cave Master's eyes were wide with shock. He reckoned that Di Jing's young master had to be more powerful and terrifying than Di Jing, but he just called such a person a coward. "Old guy, you also said that if the boy would not tell only you the location of Sword Ancestor's cave mansion, you would kill him and anyone related to him, so you're going to kill me and my young master?" "I'm his acquaintance and my young master is his friend." Di Jing's voice became cold. Bagoo Cave Master swallowed hard and his heart was trembling in fear. He regretted saying those words so much that he wanted to beat himself. "Hump, I used to be so bad-tempered in the past that I would not have hesitated to kill you," Di Jing continued, "but you're in luck because my master told me not to kill anyone for 1,000 years. So, I will spare your life this time, but there will be a punishment." Having said that, Di Jing struck Bagoo Cave Master with a palm before the master could react. Bagoo Cave Master was unable to struggle and could only watch as the hand landed on his head, at which point he felt a strange power enter his body. To the horror of everyone, the master's body started to shrink visibly. In an instant, his body had become as small as a baby, but the change did not stop there. Finally, under everyone's eyes, Bagoo Cave Master transformed from a human being into a bell. Yes, a bell. Di Jing held the bell in his hand while he waved it in a direction that seemed to be empty. Suddenly, a greenish-black figure came rushing to him. The figure was a huge spirit beast, more than 3 meters tall, with greenish-black scales all over its body. The beast had a dragon's head, but its body was shaped like a lion, except that it had 6 feet. What kind of spirit beast is that? Seeing the beast, even those knowledgeable super experts could not help being confused. They had never seen such a beast before, and they could tell it was extremely powerful. "I feel pressured by this beast. What a terrifying beast. I've been to Ancient World and a dozen Plane Worlds, but I have never seen such a strange one. The important point is that its master is more powerful." The 3 ancestors, Blood Bladesman, Dongming King, and the others all looked at Di Jing in horror. In their eyes, Di Jing was the real monster because he turned a human being into a bell. There's no way Di Jing is from the Ancient World. Maybe he came from that place. Yes, he must have. Those experts had made guesses about Di Jing's background, which only increased their fear. Di Jing shook the bell with a smile on his face. This transforming skill, invented by Witch Qiyun, is really useless in fighting, but there's no better method for punishing some juniors. After saying this, Di Jing tied the bell to the beast's neck. Chapter 500, The Path of No Return. Chapter 500, The Path of No Return. Take this bell and play with it a little. When you get bored, you can throw it away, Di Jing said to the beast. Moo. The spirit beast made a slight sound as if it was responding to his master. Ignoring the eyes of horror on everyone's faces, Di Jing moved to Jian Wushuang. "Senior Di Jing." Jian Wushuang bowed to him. "I pay my respect to you, senior." Jian Nantian and Blind Emperor bowed as well. They were impressed by Di Jing's power, just as the other experts were. "Boy, you're quite capable to have drawn almost all the elders in the divine land here." Di Jing looked at Jian Wushuang with interest. Jian Wushuang forced a bitter smile and replied, "Senior, please don't tease me. If it were not for you, we would have been torn into pieces." "Hump, don't thank me. I didn't come here of my own will. I'm just obeying my young master's order," Di Jing explained. "Len Wushuang's order?" Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. "Young master left home not long ago. Before leaving, she told me to take care of you and help you when you're in danger." Di Jing shot Jian Wushuang a glance with a strange expression on his face. "Young master is aloof and doesn't have friends. I don't know how you were lucky enough to draw her attention." Jian Wushuang was wordless upon hearing those words, but he finally understood why he did not receive a response from Leng Rushuang when he crushed the jade slip. She had gone to another world. By the way, young master told me to only save you once, which means next time you run into danger you won't get any help from me. Di Jing stared at Jian Wushuang while smiling and continued, what's more, I can only save you and take you to a safe place. As for your enemies, you have to deal with them yourself someday. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded. Di Jing could kill all the experts on the spot, but obviously, he would not do so, and Jian Wushuang never expected him to do so. He was very grateful to Di Jing for saving his life. It doesn't matter, I still owe my life to Leng Rushuang, and someday I must pay her back. Jian Wushuang thought. Well, boy, you can't stay in the divine land anymore, so I'll take you out of here, said Di Jing. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He knew very well that with so many super experts wanting to know the location of Sword Ancestor's cave mansion from him, he would be seeking death to stay in the divine land, but he was concerned about his father's safety. Senior Di Jing, what about my father and Senior Blind Emperor? Jian Wushuang finally asked. Your father. Di Jing looked toward Jian Nantian and lowered his voice. Jian Nantian, in order to improve your power, you have walked on a path of no return. It's very bold of you. A path of no return. Jian Wushuang looked confused. Jian Nantian stood in silence, and a moment later, he said to Jian Wushuang. Shuanger, go with Senior Di Jing. I have my own path. Father, Jian Wushuang frowned. Boy, your father is right. He has his own path. Since he is already on that path, no one can stop him, not even me or my master. He is on his own. Di Jing persuaded Jian Wushuang. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang frowned harder. From what was said, he knew there was something wrong with his father, but he was not clear on what it was. Father has stepped on a path of no return to improve his power. No one can change his mind or stop him. I had planned to stay in the divine land longer, but it seems that I have to go for now. Jian Nantian murmured and took out a red token. The token looked unusual. However, using his sheer strength, Jian Nantian broke it. Huola! An overwhelming energy surged out from the token and cut the void open, revealing a red door. The inside of the door was completely red, as if it led to hell. Interesting. Even I dared not enter that door in the past. Seeing the door, Di Jing gasped. Father, what's going on here? Jian Wushuang asked anxiously. I have no choice, son. Jian Nantian looked grave as his eyes fixed on Jian Wushuang. It's true that there is no turning back on this path, but I have to do so to get a chance to see Wuming again. Mother? Jian Wushuang felt rather surprised to hear his mother's name, and merely said, hasn't mother been taken away by Jiu Xiu? Jiu Xiu? Hell no. Jiu Xiu couldn't control her. She is not a common woman. She has left this world and this is the only path that can lead me to her. I have to take this path no matter how dangerous it will be. Even if there is no turning back. As long as I can see her again, I don't care if I have to become a devil or a ghost. Jian Nantian's voice was frosty but sonorous, and there was a firmness in his eyes. Jian Wushuang was moved by his words. There was a smile on the corner of Jian Nantian's mouth as he cast Jian Wushuang a glancing look, then he entered the door without looking back. As soon as Jian Nantian crossed the door slowly disappeared in the air. Another man who fell deep in love. Di Jing shook his head. Jian Wushuang felt lost. It was only after a long while that he took a deep breath to calm himself down. Everyone has their own path. Since father was so determined, he has to do this on his own. Maybe someday, when I become much more powerful, I can help him. For now, I'm too weak. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists as the desire for power burned in his eyes. Jian Nantian has left, so now it's your turn. Di Jing looked toward Blind Emperor and said in an icy voice, Blind Emperor, you know very well that it won't change anything even if I save you, don't you? Jian Wushuang's expression changed when he heard this. What do Di Jing's words mean? Blind Emperor smiled bitterly, Senior, I know I'm at death's door, but before dying, I have to complete my mission, so I hope you can grant my wish. Speak, Di Jing replied. I want revenge for my master. Blind Emperor spoke with a cold and decisive tone, one word at a time. Chapter 501, Wait for Me. Chapter 501, Wait for Me. Revenge? Di Jing frowned and shot Su Ming a glance. Su Ming's face fell when he heard what Blind Emperor said. Okay, I grant your wish. Di Jing nodded. Just as those words escaped his mouth, Di Jing waved his hand and released a restriction that covered a large space. And that space was a battlefield. As Di Jing waved his hand again, Blind Emperor and Su Ming were immediately pushed into the battlefield by an immaterial force. This is a special battlefield just for you two. After entering it, only one of you will be able to walk out alive while the other one has to die inside. Di Jing's voice echoed throughout the battlefield. Thank you so much, Blind Emperor said gratefully. Blind Emperor and Su Ming stood facing each other 100 feet apart. Damn you, blind man. Su Ming looked grim. He had worried that Di Jing would kill him directly, but now, it seemed that Di Jing wanted him to fight against Blind Emperor. Since it was a battle of life and death, Su Ming had to kill Blind Emperor in order to survive. Blind Emperor was trembling from being so excited. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. Su Ming, you betrayed our master. When he was still alive, he told me to kill you the moment I met you. Now, 1,000 years have passed and I'm on my deathbed, but finally, I've gotten the chance to accomplish Master's wish. I'll be proud when I see him in heaven. Blind guy, don't be so stubborn as you're already at death's door, Su Ming said coldly. At death's door? Blind Emperor, upon hearing the words, Jian Wushuang finally understood that Blind Emperor was on his way to heaven. No wonder Di Jing said that whether or not he saved Blind Emperor, it would not change anything. This was a rare chance for Blind Emperor to get revenge for the Sword Ancestor. Go to hell. With no more words, Blind Emperor made his move. Su Ming went over to the Emperor after taking a breath. If Blind Emperor was not dying, Su Ming would not have agreed to have a tough fight with him because his illusory sword principle would be overcome by Blind Emperor's heart sword principle. However, he was now involved in the battle and had to fight until one of them was dead. One would live, one would die. Blind guy, I will send you to hell. Su Ming was going to go all out in the fight. Soon after, the two men were engaged in a fierce battle. Outside the battlefield, the experts watched the fighting quietly. None of them dared to or could interfere in it. Blood Bladesman and Dongming King stood in silence, well-behaved. Half a day later, the battle was settled. Ha 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 ha, blind guy, how could you think that you can kill me? Su Ming laughed crazily in the center of the battlefield, his face twisted, his eyes red, he was wild with great joy. I have to thank you, really. I've been stuck in this realm for 1,000 years, and now, thanks to this battle, I've made a breakthrough. Su Ming clenched his fists. The onlookers could feel an overwhelming aura emanating from him, an aura that was much more powerful than someone in the cloud realm could have. No. This is not real. Blind Emperor trembled, unwilling to give up. He had a bloody hole left by a long sword on his chest. His breath was dying out. Master, I'm so sorry that I didn't kill him. Blind Emperor smiled sadly as his body fell to the ground. Watching this scene, the onlookers let out sighs of pity. Su Ming made a breakthrough. At such a critical moment, he managed to break through his realm. What a pity. Blind Emperor had overpowered Su Ming with his heart sword principle and absolutely had the upper hand. Who would have thought that Su Ming could break through his realm at the last moment? Everyone had witnessed Su Ming's breakthrough and how he had become as powerful as the three ancestors, Blood Bladesman, and Bagu Cave Master. That was also why Su Ming had survived and Blind Emperor had been killed. It's a pity. Seeing the result of the battle, Di Jing could not help shaking his head. He then looked toward Jian Wushuang. Boy, it's time to leave. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, his face flushed red, his teeth chattering. He gazed at the laughing Su Ming. I know you're disappointed, but you have to put your feelings away now. Someday, when you're powerful enough to get revenge, you can make those who hurt you pay you back whatever you want. Di Jing tried to comfort Jian Wushuang. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded and his eyes became red. On this day, he and his father had been driven to the verge of despair, and Blind Emperor had even lost his life. Without Di Jing, all of them would have already died. He had to get his revenge someday. Di Jing waved his hand and cut the void open, revealing a mysterious, huge wormhole. Go, Di Jing said to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang walked forward toward the wormhole, but suddenly, he stopped and turned back to look at Su Ming and the other experts. There was a dead silence as everyone stared back at Jian Wushuang. They could see a fierce and chilling killing intent in his eyes. Su Ming, I'll never forget what you've done today. And all of you with him. Someday, when I come back, no matter if you're in heaven or hell, I'll kill you all. Wait for me. Wait for me. Jian Wushuang's last sentence kept swirling around in the experts' minds. Buzz. With that sound, Jian Wushuang stepped into the wormhole and disappeared in the next moment as if he had been swallowed. What remained was his voice full of hatred resounding through the area. As Su Ming, the three ancestors, Blood Bladesman, and all the other experts watched Jian Wushuang leave, anxiety was aroused in their hearts. Maybe some years later, they would have to pay him back with blood for what they had done today. Chapter 502, The Wu Yan Tribe. Chapter 502, The Wu Yan Tribe. There were numerous plane worlds in the ancient world. The world with the divine land at its center was just one of those plane worlds. Outside the divine land, there were a large number of places with a considerable number of warriors, who were as powerful as those in the divine land or even more powerful than them. The monster continent was one of those places and was more vast than the divine land. A purple crescent moon hung high in the sky, and the world was bathed in its blurry moonlight. In a desolate land, the void was suddenly cut open. And from the crack, a figure shot out, who eventually fell to the ground battered and exhausted. That figure was Jian Wushuang. And after he crashed to the ground, he found the pain inside him even more unbearable. My body. Jian Wushuang's face flushed red in great pain. When he had tried to defeat Su Ming, he displayed the third movement of the soul-devouring secret skill. That movement had put too heavy a burden on his body. In addition to that, he had been severely crushed by the space inside the wormhole, which made his wound even worse. As a result, he passed out not long after falling to the ground. The next morning. Hurry! Uncle Dragon must be waiting for us. He will blame us for being late. Brother Qing Hu, wait for me. Ha, let's see who will be the first one to get to Uncle Dragon. A group of teenagers was running quickly and cheerfully. There were 7 of them in total. The older ones were 14 or 15 years old, while the younger ones were 8 or 9. Children as they were, they still moved so fast that they could cross hundreds of meters in the blink of an eye. Among them, a round-faced girl with a ponytail followed behind the boys. She was only 8 and was the youngest one. Suddenly, the girls stopped running, attracted by someone lying off to the side. Little you, what are you doing? An older boy who wore an animal skin turned back toward the girl. Brother Qing Hu, look, there is someone lying on the ground, the girl said to him. Huh? The boy came over and said, he's alive, but it looks like he is badly wounded. Brother Qing Hu, we must save him, the girl suggested. Okay. The boy, Qing Hu, nodded. He turned to the other boys who had gathered around, saying, you guys go to see Uncle Dragon yourselves. Little you and I have to go back now. Please apologize for us to Uncle Dragon. Sure, they replied to him. Then, Qing Hu said, little you, let's take him home. The girl nodded. She walked over to Jian Wushuang and held him over her head by his back with both hands. Though Jian Wushuang was not strongly built, he was a tall and robust adult, weighing over 70 kilograms. However, the girl held him up without any effort. Let's go. Qing Hu called out. The girl immediately started running while carrying Jian Wushuang. The people in the Divine Land would have been stunned beyond words if they had witnessed this scene. When Jian Wushuang finally regained consciousness, 2 days had passed. He woke up to find himself in a camp with a round-faced girl about 8 or 9 years old looking at him. Upon seeing Jian Wushuang open his eyes, the girl beamed and cried out, Dad, he's woken up. A burly man who was making tea in the center of the camp immediately walked over to them. Brother, you've finally woken up. The burly man spoke gently even though he looked rough. Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed at the sight of the man. He is not only a lord, but a superior lord, and may even be more powerful than that, Jian Wushuang thought. He had reached that conclusion because he could feel the man's aura constricting him. Where am I? Jian Wushuang asked while looking around. You're in the Wu Yan tribe, and I'm the leader of this place. You can call me Wu Yuan, and she is my daughter, Wu Yu, the burly man answered. 2 days ago, my daughter found you on the back of our mountain and brought you here. Jian Wushuang took a look at the girl. A bit fat but lovely, the girl blinked her large dark eyes. Seeing Jian Wushuang stare at her, she gave him a smile. Thank you so much for saving my life, Jian Wushuang said gratefully. You're welcome. We're both human beings and should help each other. Wu Yuan smiled. By the way, what's your name, brother? Which tribe are you from? Tribe? Jian Wushuang then realized that he was in a place that had many tribes. I'm Jian Wushuang. He told them his real name. Since he was no longer in the Divine Land, there was no need to conceal his name from others. But Jian Wushuang decided to make up a story. My tribe was extinguished by other tribes. In his opinion, being that this place consisted of tribes, it would not be a surprise to learn that a tribe had fallen in a conflict with another one. But to Jian Wushuang's surprise, Wu Yuan looked grave when hearing this answer. He could see anger in the man's eyes. The man shouted, Bastards! How can those tribes still fight against each other for their own benefits while we human beings are oppressed by demonic beasts? Jian Wushuang was stumped for words. Human beings are oppressed by demonic beasts. What demonic beasts? Jian Wushuang was confused. Chieftain! Chieftain! Suddenly, someone shouted from outside. Wu Yuan regained his previous manner. He looked at Jian Wushuang and said, Brother, you're seriously wounded and need a good rest. You can stay here for a while, just tell Yuer what you need. I've got to go now. After saying this, Wu Yuan walked out of the camp. Chapter 503, A Girl of Unusual Strength. Chapter 503, A Girl of Unusual Strength. Jian Wushuang and Wu Yu were the only ones remaining in the camp. He tried to get out of bed, but he could feel a great pain the moment that he moved. Helplessly, he lay his back against a pillar, which was used to support the camp, as he looked toward Wu Yu. Can I call you Big Brother Wushuang? Wu Yu blinked her eyes and then stared at Jian Wushuang. Big Brother Wushuang, Dad said that you shouldn't move because you're badly injured. Jian Wushuang smiled at her and replied, Little Yu, was it you who found me in back of the mountain and brought me here? Yes. Wu Yu nodded heavily. And you did it on your own? Jian Wushuang asked with doubt. Of course. Wu Yu nodded again. Jian Wushuang looked incredulous upon hearing her words. He could not believe that a girl of 8 had carried him such a distance all on her own. It required a lot of strength to do that. As he could not find any sign of spiritual power on the girl, he thought that it was impossible for her, a non-warrior, to have done that on her own. If he knew that the girl had taken him home by holding him up over her head, he would have found it even harder to believe. Big brother Wushuang, don't look down on me. I have a lot of strength. Although I'm only 8, those who are a bit older than me might not match me in strength, Wu Yu said proudly. Really? Jian Wushuang held out his hand and said, Little Yu, try to hit me on my hand. Big brother Wushuang, you're injured. Are you sure that you want me to try it? Wu Yu was hesitant to hit him. Just try your best, Jian Wushuang answered. Wu Yu immediately clenched her fist and casually punched toward Jian Wushuang's hand. The fist caused wind to flow through the air, and when it fell on Jian Wushuang's hand, it made him shake. Big brother Wushuang, are you okay? Wu Yu asked with concern. Jian Wushuang was amazed. He could tell there had to be thousands of pounds of strength behind what was merely a punch. The punch had not done any harm to him despite him being seriously injured, but it was still hard for him to believe that an 8-year-old girl could produce it. Monster! Jian Wushuang was rocked inside and out. He had met some people who were gifted with unusual strength in the divine land, like Shui Luo, but none of them could obtain such strength by 8. What amazed Jian Wushuang more was that there were others in the tribe besides Wu Yu that had such unusual strength. Little Yu, you just said that some of your big brothers might not match you in strength. Would I be correct in understanding that there might be someone more powerful than you? Asked Jian Wushuang. Yes, you're right. Wu Yu nodded. In our tribe, I'm peerless at my age, but there are indeed some brothers with more strength than me. The best among them is brother Qing Hu. He is 15 now. When he was 8, he could exert tens of thousands of pounds of strength. I'm no match for him at the same age. Exerting a strength of tens of thousands of pounds at only 8? Jian Wushuang was really astonished beyond words. Suddenly, a child's voice reached Jian Wushuang's ears and then he saw a boy come in. Little Yu, the boy shouted excitedly to Wu Yu, brother Qing Hu is practicing his spear skills. If you don't hurry, I'll leave you behind to watch him practice. After saying this, the boy ran out of the camp quickly. Brother Qing Hu is practicing his spear skills. Wu Yu became visibly excited. She said to Jian Wushuang, Big brother Wushuang, I'll leave you for a while. If you need me, just call me. I'll be nearby and won't miss your voice. The girl left the camp in a hurry. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang forced a smile. Brother Qing Hu? The boy who could exert a strength of tens of thousands of pounds at 8. He was quite interested in the boy's strength, so he ignored the pain in his body and struggled to go outside. He left the camp and lay against the front door, his eyes fixed on a group of boys and girls in a cleared space. The boys and girls were intently watching another boy display spear skills. The boy seemed to be 14 or 15. For such a young age, he was rather tall and strong, simply wearing an animal skin. His exposed skin shone in the sunlight, making him look even wilder. With a long spear in hand, even though his moves might have been displayed in a clumsy manner, Jian Wushuang could see a mighty power behind them. He is at the peak of the Yang Void Realm. Jian Wushuang squinted at the boy with amazement rising in his heart. In the Divine Land, it was not possible to see someone reach the peak of the Yang Void Realm at only 15. Even the talented Lin Lan, Jian Wushuang's discipline, had only been able to do it at 18. And that was why Jian Wushuang was so surprised. He had just arrived in this world and had immediately met this highly gifted boy. What a strong body and mighty power. Jian Wushuang could see how the boy crushed the void with his spear and he could hear exploding sounds one after another. He could tell that the boy was as powerful as the lords in the divine land. Jian Wushuang looked around and narrowed his eyes. Besides him, all the other boys and girls here also have strong bodies. What kind of place am I in? Chapter 504, The Monster Continent. Chapter 504, The Monster Continent. In the early morning of the third day after Jian Wushuang woke up, Wu Yuan came to visit the young man. In the tent, little brother Wushuang, you look good. You're getting better, right? Wu Yuan stood in front of the young man. Thanks to little Yu's care, I'll make a full recovery soon, Jian Wushuang said. Ha, that's good. I've already told the other elders that you will join the guard, so we will be teammates, Wu Yuan said with a smile. Jian Wushuang also broke into a smile. Jian Wushuang had found that the people here were warm and friendly, and Wu Yuan had invited him to join the guard of Wu Yan tribe the day before yesterday. Father, elder brother Qing who said you would go out with Uncle Dragon? Wu Yu asked while looking at his father. Yep. Wu Yuan nodded. We received news that a monster spy was in the nearby Green Hillock tribe, but they found out too late and he escaped. So, the leaders from the nearby tribes will lead their people through the surrounding area in hopes that they can find and kill him. A surge of killing intent gushed from his eyes. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang was lost in thought. He had learned a bit about this world after spending 3 days in this tribe. He knew it was called the Monster Continent. This world was different from those plain worlds, such as the Divine Land and the Ancient World because it was famous for its demonic beasts. The Monster Continent was much larger than the Divine Land. Most of the territory was occupied by demonic beasts, so there was less than 10% of the territory left for human warriors to settle in. Demonic beasts and human warriors were born to be deadly enemies. The monster groups, who possessed 90% of the territory, were more powerful than the human warriors, so they desired to destroy all the humans and conquer the entire continent, turning it into a paradise for demonic beasts. The humans tried their best to resist and even built the Monster Exterminating League. It consisted of the supreme commanders from human tribes. But, with only this amount of strength, the humans could barely guard the last 10% of the territory. The monsters realized that they were unable to overthrow the humans by brute force, so they sent numerous monster spies and planned to destroy them from the inside. These monster spies looked the same as human warriors and only monster discriminators could tell whether they were human beings or monsters. Once a monster spy was found, human warriors would kill him without showing any mercy. Father, be careful, Wu Yu said. Don't worry, I'm powerful. After saying that, Wu Yuan left. Looking at Wu Yuan's back, Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Wu Yuan was powerful indeed. He was at the 6 Cloud Realm, which was equivalent to the level of superior lords from the Divine Land. However, human warriors from the Monster Continent were more powerful than warriors from the Divine Land. Cultivating in the Monster Continent was superior to that in the Divine Land. Furthermore, as they were born to fight demonic beasts, human warriors had a hint of demonic beast bloodlines. Therefore, human warriors were born strong and more powerful than warriors from the Divine Land. Among the lords Jian Wushuang had met so far, Black Yuan Lord's body was considered to be extremely heaven-defying, but in the Monster Continent, every lord was stronger than Black Yuan Lord. As the tribe leader, Wu Yuan's body was even more terrifying. The experts from the Divine Land are nothing when compared to the experts from the Monster Continent, Jian Wushuang thought. He also knew that the Wu Yan tribe was one of the countless ordinary tribes. There were many tribes more powerful than the Wu Yan tribe. The Wu Yan tribe had more than 10,000 clansmen. They all started cultivating at 12 years old, but they improved faster than warriors from the Divine Land. In a normal case, even the most untalented clansmen would be able to reach the primordial gold core realm. Even the ordinary ones would reach the yin-yang void realm at the age of 40 or 50. The more powerful would reach divine transcendence. Even the weakest human warriors who reached divine transcendence could make it to the pinnacle of the saint realm. With their powerful bodies, their battle strength was stage 2 or even stage 3. Therefore, the warriors from the monster continent were more powerful than the divine land. An ordinary tribe like the Wu Yen tribe had hundreds of Saint Realm experts and 6 lords. There were countless tribes like that, so the number of such powerful experts among the entire human population was amazing. It was said that there were 33 temple masters in the Monster Exterminating League. The 33 temple masters held supreme positions among the humans. Jian Wushuang estimated that those temple masters might have broken through the cloud realm, which would make them as strong as the 3 ancestors. If that was true, it was really terrifying, because they could still be so powerful under the oppression of the demonic beasts. The sun sank and the night approached. In the tent, Jian Wushuang sat with his legs crossed as he took out a beige elixir and ate it. This vitality elixir is nice. I thought that it will take me 10 days or half a month to recover, but I will have recovered in 2 days at most because of this vitality elixir, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The vitality elixir was a superior 2nd-grade pill. Jian Wushuang found a dozen elixirs in Marquis Nanyu's interspatial ring. He had been taking them these last few days and they were really helpful for his recovery. At this moment, an uproar rose outside the tent. What's happening? Jian Wushuang was surprised and instantly walked out. Chapter 505, A Demonic Beast. Chapter 505, A Demonic Beast. Jian Wushuang saw numerous clansmen swarm into the drill ground. Big brother Wushuang, Wu Yu said while walking over with Qing Hu. Little Yu, Qing Hu, what happened? Jian Wushuang asked with a tinge of doubt. My father caught a monster spy. They're in the drill ground now. Everyone is going to take a look, Wu Yu replied with excitement. A monster spy. Jian Wushuang was surprised and showed some interest in it. He wanted to know what the real overlords in the monster continent looked like. Go! Let's follow them. Jian Wushuang, Qing Hu, and Wu Yu headed for the drill ground. The huge drill ground was crowded with numerous clansmen. Jian Wushuang and his 2 companions elbowed their way and appeared at the front of the crowd. He is the monster spy. Jian Wushuang saw a black-haired man who was locked in an iron cage at the center of the drill ground. The black-haired man was 2 meters tall. Except for being a bit more muscular, there was no difference between this black-haired man and a human warrior. If he had not been clear about this black-haired man's identity, Jian Wushuang would be unable to recognize this black-haired man as a demonic beast. Is he really a demonic beast? Jian Wushuang could not help feeling doubt. Most of the clansmen were also astonished. They lived in the tribe and most of them had never fought with a demonic beast, so it was no wonder that they did not believe it. The black-haired man was roaring crazily inside the cage. I'm a clansman from Green Hillock tribe. Why did you arrest me? Why? Let me go. Otherwise, when our leader finds out, he will seek justice for me. The black-haired man got angry as if he felt aggrieved. You are still being tight-lipped about it even now. Wu Yuan and the other elders gathered on the platform while staring coldly at the black-haired man. Go invite Elder Water, Wu Yuan ordered. We already have. He should arrive soon, an elder replied. Okay. Wu Yuan nodded. He looked over at the black-haired man and said, Don't worry. My Wu Yen tribe is always fair. We never do any human being an injustice. If we confirm that you are not a monster spy, I'll personally send you back and even apologize to your leader. But if you're a monster spy, you'll die without a doubt. His tone was filled with killing intent. Those clansmen also wore a cold look. They had rarely met a demonic beast. However, since they were born in the monster continent, their bones had been infused with hatred towards demonic beasts. Demonic beasts and human warriors were deadly enemies. Demonic beast desired to extinguish the humans while the latter had been fighting for more living space. If a monster spy was caught in the human territory, he would be killed without a doubt. The black-haired man, who felt himself being surrounded by killing intent, had a grim expression on his face, but he started to panic in his heart. After a while, an elder with long eyebrows, who was holding a cane, walked over. Elder Water. The clansmen present, including Wu Yuan, bowed to him. After all, this elder had a high status in the Wu Yen tribe, and he was the only monster discriminator in the entire tribe. Only monster discriminators were able to distinguish demonic beasts from human warriors, so even though a monster discriminator was weak, he was still respected. Elder Water, please help us, Wu Yuan said to Elder Water. Okay. Elder Water nodded slightly and looked at the black-haired man with his turbid vision. Then a strange light flashed in his eyes. Monster discriminator. The black-haired man paled because he knew he could not argue his case anymore. However, he did not feel hopeless. He started to look around and eventually fixed his eyes on Wu Yu. Instantly, he made up his mind. Boom! An overwhelming aura radiated from the black-haired man and his eyes became red. He violently slapped the iron cage. The cage was made of special materials, so it was strong enough to hold a Saint Realm human or a demonic beast. However, judging from his aura, the black-haired man had reached the Cloud Realm. Therefore, he easily broke the cage into pieces. Oh, no! Wu Yuan and other elders were shocked. A Cloud Realm demonic beast. Asshole, he had been hiding his strength and aura. Damn it! It happened so fast and it was outside of their expectations. They had received the news that the monster spy was in the Saint Realm, and they also confirm it because the black-haired man was unable to resist when they caught him, so they locked him in a cage. In a normal case, a Saint Realm human being or demonic beast would be unable to break the cage. They did not expect the black-haired man had been hiding his strength and that he was not in the Saint Realm, but a Cloud Realm demonic beast. At this moment, the black-haired man leaped toward the crowd at an amazing speed that left Wu Yuan and the other elders unable to block him in time. Hua! A blood light dashed out and moved toward where Jian Wushuang, Wu Yu, and Qing Hu stood. The only way I can survive is to hold this girl hostage. That will provide me with an opportunity to leave. The black-haired man stared at Wu Yu. Wu Yu and Qing Hu turned pale. Qing Hu immediately took out his long spear and tried to block the attack. However, a figure blocked him and Wu Yu before he was even able to make his move. That person was none other than Jian Wushuang. Chapter 506, The Divine General Arrives. Chapter 506, The Divine General Arrives. The black-haired man radiated killing intent as he stared at Wu Yu with his red eyes. He had not taken it seriously when Jian Wushuang blocked in front of Wu Yu. Get out of my way. The black-haired man growled while slapping at Jian Wushuang as if he was shooing flies. Jian Wushuang wore a flinty look as he immediately reacted. As he clenched his right hand, a mighty power flowed through his arm and gathered in his fist. Bang! A deep collision was heard and the black-haired man immediately retreated. How is this possible? The black-haired man was surprised. He could not believe that he himself, a Cloud Realm demonic beast, was defeated by a Saint Realm human warrior in a confrontation based on pure strength. He had been unable to show his full strength because of serious injuries when he was besieged in the Green Hillock tribe, but this human warrior was more seriously injured than he was. Demonic beast bastard. This roar caused the black-haired man to be filled with despair. Wu Yuan, like a furious lion, appeared beside the black-haired man and threw a punch at his head. The black-haired man was unable to resist, so his head exploded, killing him without a doubt. Wu Yuan quickly moved in front of Jian Wushuang and asked, "Little brother Wushuang, are you all right?" "I'm fine." Jian Wushuang coughed. He had gained the upper hand in that confrontation, but it had still caused his injury to worsen because the black-haired man's attack caused his blood to surge through his body. Wu Yuan said in a gravelly voice, "It was my mistake. I didn't expect that monster spy to be hiding his strength. Little brother Wushuang, you're very powerful. Even as a Saint Realm expert with serious injuries, you were able to block a Cloud Realm monster spy. You must have an amazing body. Wu Yuan could not hold back his praise. It was rare to see such a powerful body in the monster continent. Big brother Wushuang, thanks. Wu Yu looked at Jian Wushuang with gratitude. Jian Wushuang smiled. Okay, since the monster spy has been killed, everyone can leave. After Wu Yuan spoke, numerous clansmen obeyed his order and left. Qing Hu. Wu Yuan looked over at Qing Hu. You were good just now. Wu Yuan noticed that Qing Hu immediately tried to block with his long spear when the monster spy charged toward Wu Yu. It was hard for a 15-year-old teenager to have such quick and reliable reactions in a pinch. Qing Hu stroked his head while grinning. Don't be too proud. The monster spy was at the Cloud Realm. Even though he was injured, you were still incapable of fighting him. If Wushuang had not come to help, you would have been killed. Qing Hu lowered his head involuntarily. Alright, I don't want to blame you, but you should remember to only do what you're able to do next time. You're the strongest youth in our tribe and your father is our hero. If you die, I won't be able to give him an explanation, Wu Yuan said. Yes. Qing Hu nodded. Speaking of your father, he sent a message to me not long ago. He might return in a few days, so you'll get to see him soon, Wu Yuan added. Really? Qing Hu looked up with excitement. Get prepared for it. Your father seldom comes back, so this is your chance to show him what you have learned over these years, Wu Yuan said with a smile. Okay. Qing Hu nodded. He was overwhelmed with excitement. Qing Hu's father. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He knew that Qing Hu's father was the tribe hero and a divine general of the Monster Exterminating League, who had battled with demonic beasts and only returned once every several years. A divine general from the Monster Exterminating League. It's said that only a top expert in the Cloud Realm is qualified to take up this post. I wonder how powerful he is, Jian Wushuang thought with a hint of expectation. It was still peaceful in the Wu Yan tribe. The humans were united as one and rarely had conflicts with each other. Even when there was a conflict, it would be settled peacefully, so fierce fighting between two tribes was rarely seen. After sitting on the bed all night, Jian Wushuang finally opened his eyes. My strength has reached its peak. Jian Wushuang's eyes radiated a flicker of delight. He had stayed in the monster continent for a dozen days already. Aided by his own recovery ability and vitality elixirs, he had fully recovered. Only now that his strength had made a full recovery could he be confident in doing what he wanted. Uncle Qinghua is back. Uncle Qinghua is back. A loud voice instantly shook the entire tribe. Uncle Qinghua. Qing Hu's father. Jian Wushuang frowned. He immediately walked out of his tent and headed for the drill ground. Jian Wushuang saw a middle-aged man in a black suit standing in the sky, surrounded by many clansmen. The middle-aged man, with stubble on his face, was casually chatting with Wu Yuan and Qing Hu. The other clansmen on the drill ground were looking at him in admiration. He was their hero. They were proud of him. Seven Cloud Realm. Jian Wushuang recognized the middle-aged man's level. As I expected, divine generals are experts over the Seven Cloud Realm, Jian Wushuang thought. A Seven Cloud Realm expert was equivalent to a marquis in the divine land. Here, human warriors had powerful bodies, so their strength was superior to warriors from the divine land when they were at the same level. Father, look at me, Qing Hu said in a low voice. A long spear appeared in his hand. Then he violently stabbed at the space in front of him. The strike contained a mighty power and caused a loud air-piercing sound. However, with his spiritual power and body strength, he could fight against Cloud Realm experts. Nevertheless, he was able to fight a Cloud Realm expert by only using his body strength now. Aided by his spiritual power, he was more powerful than an ordinary Cloud Realm expert. It meant that if he, a Saint Realm expert with 7 origin marks, exerted his full strength, he could defeat a 7 Cloud Realm expert. That wasn't even counting his sword soul. It only took a short while for Jian Wushuang to reach level 4 of the bone fusion technique and improve exponentially. I know the 4th level is not the highest. Jian Wushuang stared at the characters on the stone tablet. The 4th level was not the end of bone fusion technique, but the higher levels were not carved on the stone tablet. Chapter 508, Catch Him. Chapter 508, Catch Him. Where is the rest of this technique? Jian Wushuang thought with a flicker of desire in his eyes. Since he was able to reach level 4 with ease, it would be easy for him to master level 5 and level 6. That meant he still had more room to improve his body and strength. While Jian Wushuang was absorbed in cultivation, Wu Yuan and Qinghua were walking towards the drill ground, accompanied by many clansmen. Leader, I brought back level 5 and level 6 of the bone fusion technique. I'll carve the level 5 manual onto the stone tablet, as for level 6. It's precious, so I'll give it to you. Leader, if our clansmen master level 5, you can give them the level 6 manual, Qinghua said. Okay, I think that's good. Wu Yuan nodded. I'll accept it. Qinghua, we'll all benefit from the 2 manuals you brought back. Thanks. For our tribe and the entire human population, this is what I should do. Qinghua causally waved his hand. They quickly arrived at the stone tablet, just in time to see Jian Wushuang practicing the bone fusion technique. Little brother Wushuang. Wu Yuan was astonished. He's practicing the bone fusion technique? He has a powerful body and is considered terrifying among warriors at the same level. Hasn't he already practiced a body reshaping technique? Did he just start practicing level 1? Qinghua wore a bemused expression. Human warriors from the monster continent usually exercised from birth. When their body became strong enough, they started to practice body reshaping technique, which was usually around the age of 7. Therefore, it was odd for them to see Jian Wushuang practicing this technique at the age of 20. Leader, who is he? Qinghua asked. He's Jian Wushuang, Wu Yuan replied. Not long ago, his tribe was exterminated by another tribe. He had been chased out by his enemy and fainted in the back of the mountain. You found him and brought him back. It's strange. Several days ago, we caught a Cloud Realm monster spy. Because of my mistake, the spy almost hurt Yuer and Qinghu. Fortunately, he blocked the attack in time. His body is already very powerful, but he hasn't practiced a body reshaping technique? Wu Yuan frowned. Hearing this, Qinghua's face fell. Jian Wushuang stopped his cultivation when Wu Yuan and Qinghua noticed that Jian Wushuang had reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique. He has reached the 4th level in such a short time. It should be easy for him to reach level 5 or even level 6, but why hasn't he practiced a body reshaping technique before? Qinghua narrowed his eyes. Catch him. Qinghua growled. The clansmen behind him rushed forward even though they were puzzled about what was happening. Jian Wushuang, who had reached level 4, was in a celebratory mood, but as he saw clansmen dashing toward him, he was stunned. He looked over at Wu Yuan and Qinghua. Leader Wu Yuan, you. Qinghua. Wu Yuan frowned at Qinghua. More and more monster spies are hiding within the human population. A monster spy was killed several days ago, but there's already another. Qinghua stared at Jian Wushuang. Father, you mean Big Brother Wushuang is a monster spy? How is this possible? Qinghu said while shaking his head. No. Big Brother Wushuang is a human. How could he be a demonic beast? Wu Yu cried. You two kids know nothing. Little Yu, come here quickly. Qing Hua said in a gravelly voice. Wu Yu was dragged aside by the other clansmen even though she was reluctant. Jian Wushuang was besieged by the clansmen who were holding weapons. As the divine general of the Monster Exterminating League, Qing Hua was their tribe hero, so those clansmen would not doubt his words. Wait a moment. Stop, Wu Yuan ordered. He glanced at Jian Wushuang with a hint of suspicion, but he said, Qing Hua, don't rush to a conclusion. We'd better check first. Every human warrior starts to practice a body reshaping technique in their childhood, but he has never practiced a body reshaping technique before and already has such a powerful body. If he is not a demonic beast, what is he? Qing Hua responded in an icy tone. But this is not enough to confirm he is a demonic beast, Wu Yuan said with a frown. We don't know where he comes from. Qing Hua gave the young man a flinty look and said in a low voice, Boy, you said that your tribe was destroyed by others and that you were being hunted by your enemy when you fainted at the back of the mountain. Then where are you from? Which tribe was hunting you? Although he felt aggrieved, Jian Wushuang had to admit that Qing Hua had reasonable grounds. A human warrior in the monster continent would have practiced a body reshaping technique since childhood, while Jian Wushuang, who had such a powerful body, started to cultivate this technique just now. It did not make sense. Furthermore, Jian Wushuang came from the divine land, where he had no access to body reshaping techniques. He lied about his origin because he did not want anyone to know that he came from somewhere outside of the monster continent. So how could he tell them the name of his tribe and enemy? I'm not a monster spy, Jian Wushuang said. Don't argue for yourself. Qing Hua said coldly while the other clansmen vigilantly stared at Jian Wushuang. Go invite Elder Water. A clansman followed Wu Yuan's order and left. Dad, Big Brother Wushuang was not a monster spy. Definitely not. Wu Yu looked at Wu Yuan with a pathetic look. Don't worry. Wait for Elder Water to arrive and everything will be made clear. If he isn't, I won't do him an injustice, Wu Yuan said. Wu Yu no longer spoke. Jian Wushuang remained silent with a wry look. Elder Water quickly arrived. Chapter 509, Sparring with Qing Hua. Chapter 509, Sparring with Qing Hua. Elder Water, please, Wu Yuan said modestly. Elder Water nodded slightly and looked over at Jian Wushuang. A strange light flashed in his eyes. This light contained special magic which would cause a monster spy to show its true form. All the clansmen watched nervously. Once they confirmed that Jian Wushuang was a demonic beast, they would kill him without hesitation. Obviously, Jian Wushuang was not a demonic beast. He did not change even a bit before the strange light dissipated. Elder Water let out a sigh and turned to look at Wu Yuan and Qing Hua. This boy is a real human warrior, not a monster spy. Qing Hu and Wu Yu felt relieved. Father, I said Big Brother Wushuang is not a monster spy, Qing Hu spoke. That's right, Wu Yu added. Wu Yuan looked over at Jian Wushuang and said apologetically, Little Brother Wushuang, I'm sorry for wronging you. Qing Hu furrowed his eyebrows. It was out of his expectations, but after realizing he was wrong, he immediately apologized to the young man. Wushuang, my friend, I was too rash. Sorry, Qing Hua said. Jian Wushuang glanced at Qing Hua in surprise. He did not intend to blame this hero because his suspicion was reasonable. Actually, he had a good impression of this divine general. It was only with great virtue that someone would be able to correct themselves after doing something wrong. It was rare that a divine general could deign to apologize to a Saint Realm expert. Since it's only a misunderstanding, there's no need to apologize, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Wu Yuan and Qing Hua smiled at each other and the tense atmosphere eased. Little Brother Wushuang, why did you start practicing body reshaping technique just now? Wu Yuan wondered. Jian Wushuang was deep in thought and did not know how to respond. He could not tell Wu Yuan that he came from another plane world. Wu Yuan noticed the young man's embarrassment and said with a smile, everyone has their own special circumstances and secrets. You don't have to tell us if you're reluctant. Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders with resignation. Wushuang, our leader said you had a powerful body and had forced a Cloud Realm spy to retreat even before you practiced the bone fusion technique, Qinghua said in a kind voice. Now that you've reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique, you must be even more powerful, right? I'm curious to see how strong your body is. If you don't mind, would you like to spar with me? Spar. Jian Wushuang was intrigued. He had just arrived at the monster continent. Though he knew that human warriors here were more powerful than warriors at the same level from the divine land, he was not clear on how powerful they were and what to expect if he had not had a fight with them, and it just so happened that he needed an opponent to test his own strength. As a 7-Cloud Realm expert and a divine general, Qinghua was an appropriate opponent for him. Since Master Qinghua is willing to teach me some moves, I'd like to, Jian Wushuang said. Ha, good. Now, let's fight just using our body's strength, Qinghua responded with a smile. After all, he had reached the 7-Cloud Realm. He did not want to fight Jian Wushuang by using his cultivation of spiritual power, because he thought it would be bullying if he did. Jian Wushuang and Qinghua reappeared up in the air, standing hundreds of feet apart. Master Qinghua, be careful. Jian Wushuang reminded him. Make your move, Qinghua said confidently, with his hands still behind his back. He had reached level 5 of the bone fusion technique, so he thought that he was stronger than Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang changed into a streak of flowing light and charged forward. Jian Wushuang quickly appeared in front of the divine general, then he clenched his hands and a mighty power gathered in his fist. He only used his body strength to launch this punch at his opponent. Rumble. The strike pierced through the air, humming violently. Qinghua also threw a pure punch which contained an overwhelming power, but he only exerted 70% of strength because he was worried he might hurt the young man. The two punches collided with each other as if two huge meteors had smashed into each other. Pang! Their terrifying power pressed against each other and let out an explosive sound. Whoosh! Qinghua shot back like a cannonball. He only regained his balance after retreating 1,000 feet. How is this possible? Qinghua looked over at the young man who had not been affected by his attack. He did not expect to be forced to retreat in that confrontation. I lost ground. Qinghua felt it was unbelievable. Normally, a Saint Realm expert like this young man would be unable to deflect his attack even though he had only used 70% of his strength. However, Jian Wushuang not only parried it, he also forced his opponent to retreat. Wushuang, you're stronger than I expected. It seems that I'm not your match if I only used 70% of my strength. This time I'll use my full strength, Qinghua said solemnly. You only used 70% of your strength? It's the same for me, Jian Wushuang said and grinned. What? Qinghua was shocked. It was the truth. Jian Wushuang only exerted 70% of his strength with that initial attack. As for the result, he was not surprised. Chapter 510, Admiration. Chapter 510, Admiration. As I expected, my body is stronger than Qinghua's after I reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique, Jian Wushuang thought. Although Qinghua had reached level 5 of the bone fusion technique, Jian Wushuang already had a heaven-defying body before it was strengthened by the bone fusion technique, so he was able to fight against 7 Cloud Realm experts from the Divine Land just by using body strength after he reached level 4. Qinghua was inferior to the young man in body strength. Next, I'll use 80% of my strength, Jian Wushuang said with a gush of killing intent in his eyes. He charged forward once again. Qing Hua swung his huge fist with his full strength and punched at the young man. Pang! This time, they were both forced to retreat. Come on! Jian Wushuang said with a hint of excitement in his eyes. He dashed forward and attacked with 90% of his strength. Pang! As for the third confrontation, Qing Hua retreated awkwardly. That meant Jian Wushuang had the upper hand. Master Qing Hua, you are unable to defeat me with only your body strength. Use your full power. Jian Wushuang spoke confidently. Use my full power. Qing Hua was intrigued and nodded. Okay, be careful. A seven-cloud realm aura suddenly swept out as a black long spear appeared in the divine general's hand. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly as an overwhelming aura flowed out and radiated from him. His triple-kill sword also appeared in his hand. Shua! Shua! Two streaks of light flashed across the sky as they battled again. Clang! 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 The fierce confrontation caused loud booms to reverberate through the entire drill ground as violent waves of power flowed outward. It shook the entire tribe. Countless clansmen walked out of their tents to watch this fight. Uncle Qing Hua is fighting with the newcomer, Jian Wushuang. How is that possible? Jian Wushuang is just a Saint Realm expert. How is he qualified to fight Uncle Qing Hua? He even seems to be holding the upper hand. Master Qing Hua is losing ground? Those clansmen were dumbfounded when they saw that Qing Hua was at a disadvantage even though he was using his full power. Big brother Wushuang is so powerful. My father is unable to beat him. Qing Hu grasped his long spear while staring at them. Wu Yu also widened her eyes and watched the fight. Hua! A brilliant streak of sword light rushed forward, carrying a decisive and unwavering intent. It was the second move of heart-killing sword technique, desperation. Qing Hua instantly brandished his long spear and violently stabbed towards the incoming attack. Clang! The two strikes crashed, causing an immaterial wave to flow out. Qing Hua was beaten back once again. Stop, stop, Qing Hua said with a wry smile. He withdrew his long spear and stopped fighting. Jian Wushuang followed him and landed on the ground. Wushuang, you're very powerful. You have my admiration, Qing Hua said, then sighed. Master Qing Hua, I appreciate your kindness. Jian Wushuang responded modestly, but he was delighted in his heart. He gained a lot from this fight and also had a better understanding about the strength of warriors from Monster Continent as well as his own. Human warriors from the Monster Continent really were more powerful than warriors from the Divine Land. Qing Hua was a seven-cloud realm expert, but his battle strength could be compared to Marquis Zizhong, who had reached the eight-cloud realm and had a Dao weapon. Although the long spear Qing Hua used was just a first-grade magic weapon, his body was stronger than Marquis Zizhong, so Qing Hua would be evenly matched with that Marquis. My body strength improved greatly after I reached level 4 of the bone fusion technique. I was able to gain ground just using my strength and swordsmanship, but there are more skills that I still haven't displayed. Jian Wushuang thought. Once he used the power of his sword soul, his strength would reach a new level, let alone his Azura secret skill, realm techniques, and the heart-killing sword. I don't need to fear battling with an 8-cloud realm divine general, even if it's a real fight, Jian Wushuang thought. Wushuang, can I talk with you alone? Qing Hua spoke. Jian Wushuang nodded even though he did not know what Qing Hua wanted to discuss. Sure. Please. Qing Hua and Jian Wushuang walked toward the tent. After entering the tent, they both sat by a long narrow table. Qing Hua waved his hand and took out some wine and fruits. Jian Wushuang poured himself a drink, then sniffed it and was about to drink. My little friend, if my guess is right, you don't belong to our monster continent, right? Qing Hua asked casually. Jian Wushuang froze and looked over at the divine general in astonishment. Qinghua guessed his origin so easily. Hey hey. Qinghua smiled faintly. You have a powerful body, but you had not practiced a body reshaping technique before you came to our tribe, which is impossible for any human warrior from our continent. You're not a demonic beast, but you can't tell me about your circumstances. So I guessed that you must have come from outside of our continent. As a divine general, Qinghua had never been anywhere outside of the monster continent, but he had heard that there were other plane worlds out there. I only know that it has been spread throughout the monster continent since long ago. More than 90% of the human warriors on the continent cultivate it to improve their physical strength. As for its levels, as far as I know, the bone fusion technique is divided into 3 volumes and each volume contains 4 levels, so there are 12 levels altogether, Qinghua said. 12 levels? Jian Wushuang was shocked. The initial 4 levels of the bone fusion technique had already benefited him greatly, but there were a total of 12 levels. How strong of a body would he attain after cultivating all 12 levels? However, it's impossible to cultivate all 12 levels. Or, at least, no human on the monster continent has ever succeeded. Even the strongest person has only cultivated the 11th level and is regarded as the top human warrior. Only a few human warriors have cultivated the 10th level in the history of monster continent, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang was not surprised to hear it. The more powerful the technique was, the more difficult it was to cultivate. The bone fusion technique was definitely an incredible one and had high requirements on the body's foundation. It was naturally difficult to cultivate all 12 levels. I have another technique which should also be useful to you, Qinghua said while taking out another jade slip. This is... Jian Wushuang was puzzled. This is a technique dedicated to concealing one's aura, Qinghua explained. Aura concealing technique. Jian Wushuang's face changed slightly as he quickly understood. I obtained this technique by chance. It can completely conceal a warrior's spiritual power aura. No one will know your strength unless he's much stronger than you. Qinghua said, after all, you're only at the Saint Realm. It'll be too noticeable if you participate in the divine general assessment like this. With this technique, no one will know your realm. Oh. Jian Wushuang slightly nodded. Divine generals in the Monster Exterminating League were usually Cloud Realm experts. It would indeed be noticeable if he became a divine general as a Saint Realm expert. Thank you so much, Jian Wushuang expressed his gratitude again. You have a month to prepare. After that, we'll set off, Qinghua said and then laughed. Jian Wushuang nodded, then he shared several drinks with Qinghua while asking him questions about the monster continent. He stayed there until dusk. Chapter 512, Heaven Wing City. Chapter 512, Heaven Wing City. That night, the bright moonlight spread like water, slightly illuminating the ground. Jian Wushuang sat cross-legged on the ground with his bare upper body. He slightly closed his eyes and felt the strange energy flowing through his body. His dark and strong muscles were also slowly wriggling. Suddenly, a burst of sound emanated from his body as his skin immediately became covered with sweat and a wild aura suddenly radiated from him. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes. Bone fusion technique, the 6th level, I've succeeded. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled with surprise and joy. He had easily succeeded in cultivating the 4th level of the bone fusion technique, and his cultivation for the 5th and 6th level was not difficult either. His physical strength soared every time he cultivated a new level. After cultivating the 6th level, his physical strength had been enhanced to a new level once again. My current physical strength has at least doubled compared to when I battled with Qinghua, Jian Wushuang thought. It was already very amazing. He had been able to fight a 7-cloud realm expert by virtue of his physical strength. Since he had improved his physical strength 2 more levels now, his power would be even more incredible. This is only the 6th level. What if I cultivated all 12 levels of the bone fusion technique? Jian Wushuang wondered. He was full of curiosity towards the creator of the bone fusion technique. How amazing was this expert who created such an amazing body reshaping technique? No matter who he was definitely a supreme expert, he thought. The higher levels of the technique were only available to those who joined the Monster Exterminating League. Therefore, whether the holy place existed or not, Jian Wushuang still had to become a divine general in the league so he would have access to the higher levels of the bone fusion technique. A month, Jian Wushuang murmured. A month was not a short amount of time for him. He would not waste it. He stayed in the Wu Yan tribe to meditate quietly on the slaughter occult from the restriction in the 6-story pagoda. Meanwhile, he used the world scroll to meditate on the world origin. His original body and doppelganger were working on comprehending the 2 different origins simultaneously, yet independently. In this way, he would yield twice the results. The aura concealing technique, aura restraint, was indeed delicate. It took him several days to comprehend it and learn to completely restrain his Saint Realm aura. Now that he had concealed his aura, other experts could not see through his strength, unless they were supreme experts, like the 3 ancestors, who were far beyond him. However, those kind of experts were too rare. A month passed in the blink of an eye. He had improved his comprehension of the slaughter origin during this period, but he was still a step away from condensing the 8th origin mark. On the other side, he had made great progress in comprehending the world origin and had condensed the 6th origin mark. He was quite satisfied with his performance. The only thing that he was unsatisfied with was his level of cultivation. Even though he had been at the Saint Realm, Venerable Master, for a long time, he still could not feel any signs of a breakthrough. It might be a long time before he entered the Cloud Realm. In the early morning, a large number of clansmen gathered on the drill ground of the Wu Yan tribe. They came to see Qinghua and Jian Wushuang off. Father, Qinghu stood next to Qinghua, reluctant to see him leave. Big brother Wushuang, kill a lot of demonic beasts, Wu Yu said to Jian Wushuang. Uncle Qinghua, remember to kill even more demonic beasts. It would be best if you could kill all those damn demonic beasts. Brother Wushuang, take care of yourself and Uncle Qinghua. While being accompanied by the clansmen, Jian Wushuang and Qinghua arrived at the entrance gate of the tribe. He was touched by their warmth and enthusiasm. Wushuang, let's go, Qinghua said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded, then they left the tribe. Several days later, they arrived before a giant city. A city? Jian Wushuang looked at it. On the journey, he had passed by large and small tribes, but he had yet to see any cities on the monster continent. This city was much larger than any city he knew of in the Divine Land. This is Heaven Wing City, one of the 8 cities of the human population on Monster Continent. Qinghua looked at Jian Wushuang and explained, the human population has 8 cities like this one. The tribes come here to exchange goods, and each city has a saint castle. If you want to be a divine general, you must go there for the assessment. Oh. Jian Wushuang slightly nodded. The Monster Exterminating League has set a rule. Flying is forbidden in the holy place and the 8 cities, as is fighting. We have to queue up to enter the city, Qinghua said. They went to the front gate where a large number of human warriors from various tribes were queued up. Jian Wushuang and Qinghua also stood in the long queue. Flying is forbidden as well as fighting? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. No one dares to violate the rules set by the League. Of course, if you have the opportunity to become a divine emperor in the future, you don't have to follow these rules. Experts, like divine emperors, have certain privileges, said Qinghua. Divine emperor? Jian Wushuang was intrigued by these words. He had heard about the divine emperors from Qinghua before. In the Monster Exterminating League, where all high-level human warriors of the monster continent gathered, divine generals were the most common and were generally Seven-Cloud Realm experts. There were numerous Seven-Cloud Realm experts on the monster continent. Therefore, there were countless divine generals in the Monster Exterminating League. Above the divine generals were divine emperors. According to Qinghua's description, divine emperors had entered the Tao. If they were in the divine land, they would be as strong as the 9 sovereigns, or maybe even stronger. However, there were 108 divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League. In addition, there were many other experts who were qualified to be divine emperors in the league. Compared with the Monster Exterminating League, the divine land, where Jian Wushuang had just come from, was indeed much weaker. Chapter 513, Saint Castle. Chapter 513, Saint Castle. Inside Heaven Wing City. Jian Wushuang walked with Qinghua on the wide street while looking around at the huge buildings. They were ancient and splendid, as delicate as sculptures. The streets were crowded with people. What a busy city, Jian Wushuang said. Even though humans only occupy less than 10% of the territory on the monster continent, it's still very vast and the number of tribes and warriors is quite astonishing. All the tribes come to the 8 cities to exchange goods. As one of those cities, Heaven Wing City is naturally lively, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang nodded in agreement. Before long, he noticed an ancient purple castle, which was about 100 meters tall, at the end of the street. It was so humongous that it was extremely eye-catching among buildings in Heaven Wing City. That's Saint Castle, also known as Monster Exterminating Castle. If you want to be a divine general, you have to accept the assessment there, Qinghua said. Let's go, Jian Wushuang said. He headed towards Saint Castle with Qinghua and they quickly arrived at the entrance. After climbing the stairs, they stepped into the hall. So quiet, Jian Wushuang whispered. The hall was very empty. The dozens of people in this empty hall made it more sparse. It was completely the opposite of the busy streets. People here are either divine generals or applicants trying to become a divine general. Of course, it wouldn't be crowded here, Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang nodded and noticed the application counter. A blue-haired beauty sat behind the counter, in front of a shelf that was filled with bottles of wine. Shadow, give me a bottle of lion liver wine, Qinghua came to the counter and said directly. She raised her head and then gave him a bottle of wine, then she said, 10,000 raw gems. We're old friends. Why do you still charge me so much? Qinghua muttered but still took out the raw gems. Qinghua, who is he? The blue-haired beauty looked toward Jian Wushuang and asked. He's a little brother from my tribe. He came here to participate in the Divine General Assessment, Qinghua said. Shadow, please help him register. The Divine General Assessment? The blue-haired beauty nodded and asked, what's your name? Which tribe are you from? Jian Wushuang from the Wu Yan tribe, Jian Wushuang answered. The blue-haired beauty recorded his name on a list and said, you're lucky. There is a divine general assessment about to take place right now. Wait a moment, I'll make the arrangement for you immediately. Thank you, Jian Wushuang said. You're fortunate. The divine general assessment is held every 10 days. You came at the right time, Qinghua said and laughed. The blue-haired beauty immediately left to make the arrangements. A moment later, she returned with a white-haired elder. The white-haired elder looked at Jian Wushuang without saying anything, but a strange light flashed in his eyes. Jian Wushuang had seen this strange light before. He knew that it was the monster discriminator's special method. Wushuang, all the applicants for Divine General Assessment are tested. It's to prevent monster spies from sneaking into the team. Don't worry, Qinghua explained. I understand, Jian Wushuang said and nodded. The strange light in the white-haired elder's eyes lasted for a while. As Jian Wushuang had no reaction at all, it gradually dissipated. "Come with me," said the white-haired elder, then he went straight to the inner layer of the castle. "Go. I'll wait for you outside," Qinghua said. Jian Wushuang followed the white-haired elder without hesitation. It didn't take long for him to arrive at an open space in the inner layer, where lots of people were waiting. These men and women were all warriors, and they all possessed a powerful aura. When Jian Wushuang arrived, they only cast a casual glance at him and then looked away. "They all came here to accept the assessment," Jian Wushuang muttered. There were over 30 warriors. Among them, several warriors had an extremely strong aura. In particular, a red-haired young man that was standing on the edge of the open space attracted his attention. This young man carried a saber on his back and stood there with his devilish eyes slightly closed. The arrogant expression on his face showed that he was not paying attention to anyone present. He should be at the 8-Cloud Realm. Jian Wushuang thought in surprise. A 7-Cloud Realm human warrior with a strong body was enough to be a divine general. An 8-Cloud Realm warrior would be regarded as excellent among the divine generals. Therefore, it was common for the 7-Cloud Realm warriors to participate in the assessment, but it was rare for 8-Cloud Realm warriors. Just then, a purple-robed middle-aged man, flanked by a couple of people, walked toward them. He held a list in his hand which recorded these applicants' information. After standing in front of them, he looked around. "Listen well. The assessment is very simple. Walk along this tunnel until you reach the huge gladiator arena in the innermost part of the castle. Once you step into it, your opponent will naturally appear in front of you. What you need to do is to use your full strength against him. Whether you pass the assessment or not depends on your performance in the gladiator arena. That is to say, the better you perform in the gladiator arena, the more likely you are to become a divine general." The purple-robed man stopped and watched their reactions. His words caused a stir among the applicants, but they quickly quieted down and accepted it calmly. By the way, Emperor Fengshao, one of the 108 divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League, happens to be in the castle. He'll be watching your battles at the gladiator arena. It's a good opportunity for you, the purple-robed man said. Emperor Fengshao. The famous Emperor Fengshao from the Monster Exterminating League? He's in the castle and will watch our assessment. Oh, if Emperor Fengshao appreciates my performance and chooses me as a disciple, then I would be very lucky. Everyone became excited. Even the arrogant red-haired young man on the edge of the open space changed his expression. Chapter 5:14, The Assessment. Chapter 5:14, The Assessment. I heard from my father that Emperor Fengshao has a high rank among the 108 divine emperors. He's at the peak and he's even stronger than my father. It's definitely a great opportunity. I might become the disciple of such a powerful divine emperor. Thinking of this, the red-haired young man clenched his fists tightly as a flash of burning desire appeared in his eyes. Among all the experts, only Jian Wushuang remained calm. Since he had just arrived on the monster continent, he had never heard of Emperor Fengshao. However, since the latter was one of the 108 divine emperors, he must have entered the Tao and would definitely overpower Jian Wushuang. Anyway, I'll call your names one by one according to the application order, the purple-robed man said as he took out the list. The first one, Hitsang. Hitsang immediately stepped forward and entered the tunnel on the side, then headed directly towards the gladiator arena. The rest waited quietly in the open space. After a while, they heard loud roaring sounds from the gladiator arena. The extremely fierce sounds indicated that Hitsang was in a tough battle. It didn't take long for Hitsang to return along the tunnel and reappear in front of them. He was wounded and his furrowed eyebrows revealed an obvious trace of sorrow. He was apparently worried about whether he would pass the assessment. The result would not be announced until everyone finished the assessment, so he had to wait quietly. Next, the purple-robed middle-aged man called the second expert's name. The experts stepped into the gladiator arena one after another after traveling to the end of the tunnel. It wasn't long until the name of the red-haired young man who stood on the edge of the open space was called. Jean Ling, the middle-aged man, called out. The red-haired young man walked to the gladiator arena. He created a larger disturbance in the gladiator arena, and also stayed in there longer. After a quarter of an hour or so, he returned to the open space. With the arrogant expression still on his face, he looked around at the crowd with a hint of disdain. He must be extremely confident of his strength, Jian Wushuang muttered. Several more experts entered gladiator arena before Jian Wushuang's name was finally called. The last one, Jian Wushuang, the purple-robed middle-aged man said. Jian Wushuang immediately walked towards the gladiator arena at the end of the tunnel. A moment later, he finally arrived at the gladiator arena. The huge gladiator arena was encircled by a restriction, with rows of stands around it, but no one seemed to be watching. I wonder who my opponent is, Jian Wushuang thought. Suddenly, 3 giant beasts slowly walked out from 3 tunnels near the edge of the gladiator arena. There. Demonic beasts? Jian Wushuang observed the 3 giant beasts in surprise. They were all 3-meter-tall demonic apes with 4 arms. No. They have no vitality. Are they puppet fighters? Demonic beast puppet fighters? Jian Wushuang was stunned. In the Divine Land, he had seen a lot of puppet fighters, but they were human-like. He had never seen demonic beast puppet fighters before. My opponents are these 3 demonic beast puppet fighters? Jian Wushuang thought with a serious expression on his face. The 3 demonic beast puppet fighters encircled Jian Wushuang in a triangle shape and then directly began to attack him. Howl! They roared simultaneously and then trod the ground heavily, causing the ground to tremble violently. Fortunately, the ground was paved with extremely hard stone slates, which were not easily cracked. Who? 3 strong wind-breaking sound came from each side. The 12 fists of the 3 puppet fighters were tightly clenched and punched Jian Wushuang like landslides and tsunami. Jian Wushuang felt like he was surrounded by fists in all directions. He immediately moved, leaving behind a residual shadow as he bounced towards the puppet fighters in a flexible manner. He then punched one of the puppet fighters with his tightly clenched right fist. He used the full extent of his physical strength, striking the puppet fighter with a fierce blow that seemed almost like a meteorite. Bang! The puppet fighter was immediately knocked back, slamming into the stone wall at the edge of the gladiator arena and causing a violent impact. Get out! Jian Wushuang then punched the other 2 puppet fighters and knocked them backwards without effort as well. In a blink of an eye, he had defeated the 3 demonic beast puppet fighters. They're not very strong, Jian Wushuang thought. He could tell that the 3 puppet fighters were equal to superior lords with a stronger body. They were comparable to Wu Yuan, the leader of the Wu Yan tribe. It should not be difficult for any 7-cloud realm human warrior to defeat them. The assessment shouldn't be so simple, he thought. As he expected, after the 3 defeated puppet fighters left the gladiator arena, a brand new puppet fighter immediately stood in front of him. It was over 2 meters high, but it was shorter than the demonic ape puppet fighters and much stronger. It had a lion head, greenish-black scales that covered its body, and a 3-meter-long tail, which was also covered with scales. Is this the original look of the demonic beast? Jian Wushuang looked at it with a curious expression. He had only seen spirit beasts in the Divine Land, which were totally different from the demonic beasts in the monster continent. The demonic beasts carried some human characteristics to a certain extent. The demonic lion puppet fighter also began to attack. It was much stronger than the 3 puppet fighter, and its speed was quite astonishing. Jian Wushuang only caught a flash of a greenish-black spectral image. The next moment, he heard a harsh explosion in front of him as the puppet fighter split the air, slashing towards him with its sharp claws while opening its big mouth. Howl! A roar, accompanied by a strong sound wave, stormed toward Jian Wushuang. It was comparable to an 8-cloud realm expert and even stronger than Marquis Zizhong, who Jian Wushuang had fought in the Divine Land. Nevertheless, Jian Wushuang was also stronger than he used to be after cultivating the bone fusion technique and improving his physical strength to a great extent. In front of this puppet fighter, Jian Wushuang finally drew his sword and used his spiritual power to defeat it. The demonic beast puppet fighter of the 4th round showed up. It looked exactly the same as the demonic apes in the first round. It even had 4 arms, but it was much stronger. Few second-grade divine generals can compete with the demonic ape puppet fighter in the 4th round. I wonder how long he can hold out. Emperor Fengxiao watched the fight attentively. Jian Wushuang began to attack the demonic ape puppet fighter. Whoosh! The triple kill sword carried a decisive and unwavering intent as he attacked with the second move of the heart-killing sword technique. A sword shadow burst out, like sharp bolt of lightning, roaring as it stabbed forward. The puppet fighter waved its 4 arms violently and clenched a fist, releasing a punch towards Jian Wushuang's triple kill sword. Bang! The triple kill sword was deflected to the side as the puppet fighter directly strode forward and violently punched at Jian Wushuang with its other 3 arms. Jian Wushuang retreated in a hurry and swung his sword to parry the incoming attacks. However, he still suffered a blow on his chest from the puppet fighter's fist. Jian Wushuang groaned painfully and tried to calm down his turbulent aura. How powerful! It's even stronger than me. A hint of excitement flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. It seems that I will have to use some of my trump cards. Bang! 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 The puppet fighter trod forward heavily and then pounced on him. He immediately retreated while simultaneously waving his hand. Hum! A giant tumbling blood river rushed out, accompanied by surging waves of invisible sword essence that spread out around Jian Wushuang. He had superimposed road to the underworld and the hundredfold realm. As for the blood fire domain in the blood fire ring, it was too weak to be of use to Jian Wushuang now. Due to the oppression of the domain, the puppet fighter's speed and strength were greatly restrained. Jian Wushuang stopped retreating and raised his triple kill sword, which gave off a dazzling light at this moment. Chapter 516, Second Grade Divine General. Chapter 516, Second Grade Divine General. He brandished his sword. A poignant sword stroke emerged. Beautiful and enchanting. It was the 3rd move of heart-killing sword technique, enchant. The sword light even enthralled Emperor Fengxiao and the red-robed woman who were outside the gladiator arena. That move, a hint of surprise flashed in Emperor Fengxiao's eyes. It was a poignant sword move, intoxicating, powerful and occult. Seeing this, Emperor Fengxiao was stunned, feeling like he had been struck by an electric shock. He was good at sword principle and believed that few in the monster continent could be his rivals. But the sword move Jian Wushuang unleashed just now had touched him. Yes, it touched him. Emperor Fengxiao closed his eyes and replayed the move in his mind. A sword move which he hadn't understood for years suddenly became clear. All of a sudden. That's it. I have been walking on the wrong path. Emperor Fengxiao murmured, then opened his surprised eyes. He mastered such a unique sword skill. Emperor Fengxiao looked at Jian Wushuang. He didn't know that heart-killing sword technique was created by Sword Ancestor, which was also Sword Ancestor's best sword skill. Though he was strong in sword principle, he was much weaker compared with Sword Ancestor. Therefore, it was normal that Sword Ancestor's best sword skill would touch him. I should thank him. Emperor Fengxiao took an earnest look at Jian Wushuang. At this moment, Jian Wushuang had defeated the demonic ape puppet fighter with realm suppression and the third move of heart-killing sword technique. The fourth level, passed. He should be able to pass it. The red-robed woman opened her eyes wide with a shocked face. She didn't study sword principle and had no idea how special the move was. What shocked her was that Jian Wushuang had passed the fourth level. It should be known that those who passed the fourth level were at the peak even among second-grade divine generals. Top second-grade divine generals were ranked only second to the divine emperor. In the gladiator arena, the demonic beast puppet fighter of the fifth level appeared. When Jian Wushuang fought with the demonic beast puppet fighter, he found that it was stronger by at least 2 levels than the demonic ape puppet fighter, whether in speed or in power. The demonic beast puppet fighter of the fifth level is much stronger. I may not be able to defeat it even using sword soul and trying my best. Jian Wushuang thought. To pass the fourth level is enough. There is no need to pass more. Having decided, he retreated to the perimeter of the gladiator arena, looked up at the stands out of the restriction, back to where he entered and walked out of the gladiator arena. He didn't plan to use all his trump cards here. But the strength he had shown was shocking enough. Red butterfly. In the stand, Emperor Fengxiao took a glance at the red-robed woman behind him. Divine Emperor. The red-robed woman said respectfully. Take this to him. Emperor Fengxiao gave the red-robed woman a jade slip. Taking it, the red-robed woman was confused. But after she recognized what it was, she was in great shock. Divine Emperor, this is, the red-robed woman's voice was trembling. She knew the value of the jade slip. It was a jade slip that lots of divine generals were eager to own. And it was also important for Emperor Fengxiao himself. How could Emperor Fengxiao give this as a present to Jian Wushuang? Just do as you are told. Emperor Fengxiao said. Yes. Dan Jiu took a deep breath and nodded heavily. Then she left. In the stand sat Emperor Fengxiao with the corners of his mouth curled up. After mastering that sword movement, my strength has improved to a new level. The jade slip was nothing compared with what I received because of him. Their eyes were full of curiosity. They had all fought with the demonic beasts puppet fighters in the gladiator arena. Some took a while and some were brief. But Jian Wushuang took the longest time, even longer than Jin Ling's. A moment later, the red-robed woman arrived at the open space. Now, I will announce the results. The red-robed woman took out a list and started to read. The first one, Heatsong, pass, first-grade divine general. The second one, Luo Yi, pass, first-grade divine general. The third one, first-grade divine general. The fourth one, fail. The red-robed woman read everyone's name. More than 30 experts participated in the test. Almost all of them had reached 7 Cloud Realm, so most of them would pass it. Only 1 or 2 failed. Jin Ling, pass, second-grade divine general. The red-robed woman said. All people present looked towards the red-haired man, Jin Ling, but didn't feel surprised. Because it was only he that reached 8 Cloud Realm and he should be a second-grade divine general. Jin Ling himself also thought he deserved it. The next one, continued the red-robed woman. Finally, the red-robed woman read the last one's name, Jian Wushuang. The last one, Jian Wushuang, pass, second-grade divine general. The red-robed woman looked at Jian Wushuang after reading. All experts present looked towards Jian Wushuang, including Jin Ling. It was normal that Jin Ling became a second-grade divine general, because he was at 8 Cloud Realm. But Jian Wushuang. Many divine generals, even divine emperors of Monster Exterminating League, cultivated in the holy place, which was also open to them. Of course, but not now. Having been in the monster continent for so long, it's my first time visiting the city. I want to have a look first. Jian Wushuang said. Okay, I'll go with you. Qing Hua laughed. Then they walked outside of the Saint Castle. Both of them didn't notice that a red-haired man in a corner was gazing at Jian Wushuang carefully. After observing Jian Wushuang leaving the Saint Castle, Jin Ling pondered, then followed them. Heaven Wing City was bustling with many shops. A moment later, Jian Wushuang and Qing Hua arrived at a big black pavilion. It's Heaven Wing Pavilion, the biggest market in Heaven Wing City for buying and selling. The purchasing price is 90% of the selling price. Selling to them might incur a little loss, but it is convenient. Qing Hua said. Let's enter and have a look. Jian Wushuang stepped into the Heaven Wing Pavilion. Heaven Wing Pavilion was 3 stories and there were many treasures in each story. Entering the hall of the first floor, Jian Wushuang saw many treasures, but they were all common. Jian Wushuang was uninterested in them, but many warriors of the tribes were perusing the treasures. 2 lords, most of the treasures in the first floor are common grade. It's better for you to go to the 3rd floor if you want to buy something. An attendant walked to them and said. Jian Wushuang and Qing Hua looked at each other. Both of them had refined divine general tokens, and that special aura was easy to be perceived. Therefore, others could recognize them immediately. They didn't delay in the 1st floor anymore and walked up the stairs to the hall of the 3rd floor of Heaven Wing Pavilion. The number of treasures on the 3rd floor was less than on the 1st floor, but more valuable. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.